Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening to this. Welcome. I have just finished interviewing Dave Davies. Dave Davies is the interview that you're about to hear right now. As many of you know, I am very, very fond of Dave. I hate saying that. That's embarrassing. I'm very fond of Dave Davies. He's helped me out massively on my journey. And as you know, I work closely with him still now. And it's great to have an expert like this on the podcast. I genuinely have learned so much, and even in this podcast, this conversation, there's always snippets. There's always something that everybody can learn from a conversation. The most exciting thing for me probably was I've got so many notes here that I've taken during it. The most exciting thing was when we, towards the end of the podcast, we started talking about where self-storage is going, and we started talking about localized self-storage. Very, very fascinating, very, very interesting, something that I personally am very passionate about as well. And it was interesting because although I talk to Dave on a regular basis, we've never had this discussion ever. And when he started talking about localized self-storage, my face lit up because it's something that I have been looking at and talking about with different people over the last 6 months or so. And it's where I believe that we will be going, where we will be heading. And that's where the destination, I suppose, where I want to start the journey for where I believe Stormore or my businesses will be going in the future. Anyway, without any further ado, I'll get on to that conversation, but it's something to keep an eye out. We go through so many things. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Thank you very much for being part of this podcast and listening to it. I really, really appreciate you guys. Any feedback, please let me know. Or if you want to come on the podcast or you want to recommend somebody else to come on the podcast, then hit me up. It's deanbooty@icloud.com, BOOTY@icloud.com. Love to hear from you. Okay, my friends, thank you so much. I will speak to you soon. Here's Dave Davies. Dave Davies, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Morning, Dean. How are you?
I'm bloody terrific, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. The last time I spoke to you, it was a beautiful sunny day. I was in Vienna, if you remember, and my daughter kept saying to me, Dad, come on, we got to go out with the grandchildren down to the river. And today I'm sat at home. It's pouring outside, but to see your sunny face is a real uplift.
And I see you still got your shorts on though, Dave.
I still got my shorts on, mate. Zoom and Team. I made a mistake, didn't I? I stood up, right? So you should never stand up when you're on a Zoom or Team meeting because it does look really stupid when you've got a shirt and tie on and shorts.
You never look stupid, Dave, in whatever you are.
Of course, I always look stupid.
So most people listening to this, Dave, will know who you are. But for those of them who don't, can you just tell the listeners a brief description about you and what you do, buddy?
Wow, mate. My name's Dave Davies. I'm a retailer by all my life. Fell into self-storage some 20 years ago with a little small company called SafeStore, who
never heard of
doing very well. And 17 years later, when I sort of retired from SafeStore, they're like the number one provider in the UK, second largest in Europe, and continue to grow to this day. Through my time at SafeStore, there's no job I haven't done, nothing I haven't seen. Acquired 65 stores, run teams of a dozen regional managers, done lots of acquisitions. And today I spend a couple of days a week helping other people improve their businesses, and it keeps the old grey matter going. I love it. I love the people. I love the industry, and it keeps the old grey matter ticking, as I said, and keeps me occupied and out of Trudy's way.
Yeah, and full disclosure, we actually use you, as every listener will know, because I think I mention you on most of my podcasts anyway, but even down to the fact that I was looking at this bit of land over Christmas period, and I was with my dad, and I said, Dad, I've got to take Dave Davies a video. So I actually got my video out and said, Dave, look how busy this road is, and I sent you it. So yeah, Dave helps me as well.
Yeah, it's a pleasure because especially getting that video on Christmas Day when the kids were trying to unopen their toys, it was amazing. I'm sorry I didn't answer it till Boxing Day.
It's okay. I'll let you off, buddy. So, Dave, what is the biggest impact then on COVID? How have you seen your clients? How have they been performing over this bloody weird time?
Wow, what a year! That's all I can say. 2020 has, despite everything, turned out to be an unbelievable year for this industry. Your listeners, you tell your listeners every week how you've done, but in short, my clients and the industry in general has had an incredible year. And many of my clients have had record-breaking years in terms of both occupancy and revenue. Who would have thought that on March the 23rd?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think I've ever said this to you, but when it actually all broke about lockdown and everything, you actually rang every single client of yours for no cost, just to check in and see how people were and stuff. And that, for me, that goes a massive long way.
Well, the interesting thing, Dean, is that once again, this industry has shown its resilience. And I've been in this industry in two times of crisis, 2008, the recession, and also the VAT change in 2012. And you're right, I rang everybody because I didn't want them to panic and do daft things, right? And just talking to you now, my mind has gone right back to the SSA webinars. Do you remember Rennie used to run them every Tuesday and Thursday, I think, at the start? The fear of mass vacates, the fear of, payment holidays, the fear of escalating debt. Oh my God, what's going to happen to us? We're all doomed. Look, I rang you and I rang everybody else and said, look, don't panic, right? Because, you can't predict what's going to happen. No one can predict what's going to happen. We've got to tell people we're open, right? And just monitor the situation, and read the data and then react accordingly, right? And that's exactly what we did, because none of those things, mass vacates, escalating debt, payment holidays, none of it happened. But we know that now, we didn't know that then. So some people made, rash decisions about, giving people payment holidays and what they were going to do. My message, if you remember, was, tell people you're at home, be COVID safe, and just wait and see what happens and then react to what happens rather than trying to preempt stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We followed your suit a little bit. We rang every single person in our storage facility and just said, look, if you are vulnerable, if you are shielding, then, let us know and we can try to help out and just be a real community and really care about your customers. And ultimately, that's what all good businesses do. In terms of how it affected us, COVID, it affected us worse than most. If you remember, I was really worried about COVID, and I said to my staff, I said, do you know what? And hands up, I definitely made a mistake. I said to my staff, look, I won't be comfortable going to work, so therefore I don't expect you to go to work. So what we'll do is we'll close, but we'll put all the phone calls on divert to the home. Oh my God, in 3 weeks, Dave, as you know, we went back down, we lost 3 years worth of customers, went back down to 17,000 square foot. And I was like, that's actually taken.
Well, I remember, Dean, the day, I used to speak to you every week. And I remember like a couple of weeks in, you telling me that everybody was at home. And I remember telling you, well, SafeStore's open, Big Yellow's open, everybody else is open. What are you doing at home, right? But hey, look, we learn from these things. And while it's on my mind, I think that I would like to remind you, I would like to remind your listeners, I would like to remind the industry of the great work that Rennie and the self-storage team did across that period. I think their lockdown webinars and their advice and the help they gave to the industry shouldn't be forgotten.
What 1,000,000%. And also, Rennie actually came on this podcast as well to speak to everybody listening to this. But also, not only that, what Rennie did for me just last week, we was having a problem with my kids at school because my wife works in the business as well. I oversee everything. And my wife's, the school actually said that unless you get a letter stating you are a critical worker, then I'm sorry, your kids can't come. And we was like, oh my God, what do we do? Rang up Rennie, and Rennie said, what do you need, Dean? And he said, you are a critical worker, you are crucial, you have to stay, because you've got blood banking, NHS, you've got the food banks in. And so he wrote me a letter within a couple of hours, and I sent it straight to school, and my kids are allowed to go to school again, which I personally don't. I like because of the social aspect for the kids.
Yeah.
And so they're in school 3 days now, and the wife looks after them 2 days and homeschools. But yeah, Rennie did an amazing job just for me personally. An independent letter. It wasn't mass send. It was just one letter to me for my school. Which, God, can you imagine if he does that for every single person? There is a lot of work there.
Well, I obviously I've been part of that webinar, and I've done some stuff with Rennie this year, but I think that for the mass independents out there, the SSA has really proved its value this year, and I think personally that Rennie and the team have done a fabulous job, and have helped, just like your letter, in whichever way they can.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where you get the value from at times like this when you need them. So, Dave, what do you expect this year then? Last year was a bumper year. Is it going to continue this year? Do you foresee, or will it slow down a little bit?
Well, Dean, if I knew that, I wouldn't be on this podcast. I'd be on my private island somewhere, wouldn't I? Right? But all we know is what we know, right? And that is demand remains strong. Current momentum within the industry just continues. And who would have predicted that, almost a year ago? New lets are strong. We know that vacates have been low throughout, 2020, and therefore churn remains low. How long this will continue, who knows, right? But my view is that, you manage your business, what's happening now, and we'll worry about things when they happen. And look, there will be challenges in 2021. We don't know what's going to happen. The law of averages says that vacates will return to normal levels. But when that happens is anybody's guess. My message, sorry to be so boring, this year is exactly the same as any other year, and that is don't panic.
Yeah, I just wrote down, all we know is what we know. And
right.
So basically...
Look, Dean, I tell you, don't second guess what the customer might or might not do, right? You have to run your business today. You monitor it closely, as I know you do. You collect the data, you understand the effects, you see the trends, and then you react accordingly. There is no quick win. There is no silver bullet. It's just normal business practice. We've had a great year, right? And good businesses make the best out of good times, and good businesses make the best out of bad times, right? Or downtime. So, whatever happens, the fact is that, at some stage, these vacates will start to move out. But we also know that as the economy grows, new businesses and new people will want storage, and history tells us that self-storage will be in demand, and therefore I just see no reason why this industry should not have a strong year in 2021. We've been through lots of good times. We've been through lots of down times. But the self-storage industry adapts to that, and there's always people out there that need storage. And so just don't worry about what's going to happen. Just concentrate on how good your business needs to be. That's my message.
Yeah, so react to what's happening.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
completely agree. I do think it's going to be, I'm bullish. I think it's going to be a good year. How's January been so far for your clients that you spoke to so far?
Look, we're in the main, right? And I probably, actively work, day on day, week on week, month on month with, around about 15 people. Obviously, I have a much bigger pot than that, but I talk to, 15, 20 people all the time, or work for people like that. In the main, vacates are, getting back up to previous year levels. New lets are continuing to grow though. Lots of new business out there. And January, as normal, big inquiry month. So we have seen the uplift inquiries, but everybody's having, in the main, a positive month.
Yeah, to give you some context, we're 860 square foot up at Stormore, and we had 42 quotes last week, when in the summer of 2019, that was a good week for us in terms of quotes. And this is January, 860 square foot up by the 19th of January. And we have had a fair number of move outs. We're really happy overall.
Yeah, well, look, I think that January is normally the largest inquiry month of the year. I think in normally people get back to work, don't they? Get Christmas out of the way. They think about what they're going to do in the spring and in the summer, and the economy gets to move. So it's normally a really big inquiry month. I don't think, my feedback is that I don't think it's as big as it is normal, but definitely inquiries are strong. New lets are holding up, and of course vacates, whilst in lockdown, vacates are almost zero.
Yeah, good news. So Dave, price increases. This is one of the questions that I personally wanted to ask you. Do you still recommend price increases during this time?
Dean, you know the answer to that, right? I'm the king of price increases, right? Anybody that knows me, anybody that works for me, anybody that's attended any of my SSA workshops or webinars or whatever you want to call them, know that I love a price increase. And, I believe that price increases are a fundamental part of the self-storage industry. If, you don't do price increases, you're not doing your job right. That's my message to people. Again, you will know firsthand knowledge. Right at the start of lockdown, one of the questions was, what do we do with price increases? And I said to everybody, stop. Let's stop doing price increases on March the 23rd, right? And let's see what happened. Over that 7 weeks of lockdown, we didn't do any price increases. The moment that lockdown finished, I spoke to you, I spoke to all my clients, and I was on the webinar saying, right, now get back into your price increase regime, right? It's vital that you do price increases. It's vital that you have a robust price increase, process, strategy, whatever you want to call it. It's vital. I've got clients out there that have done increases, but they said, oh, look, we only did a 2%. Well, they're wrong. If you're going to do a price increase, it's got to be 8 or 10%, right? And as always, whether it's lockdown or not, do the increases and deal with the complaints. Simple. There are operators out there who have continued to do price increases all the way through, like yourself, like SafeStore and Big Yellow. And there are some that, I was talking to someone yesterday where they are going to start doing price increases again on April the 1st. I do not understand that logic.
Yeah. Do you know when we first started working with you, we was doing price increases, but we never monitored the reactions of people. And so we designed this together. We designed this great spreadsheet. And I genuinely believed, even though I knew we weren't going to get a lot of complaints, I genuinely believed it was going to get a lot more than we do. It's less than 2% of all the price increases. And by the way, it's not to say that we're doing the price increases to get one over the customer, because we're not at all.
No.
It's everything goes up. Everything goes up.
Look, you know, what I did with you, I do with all my clients, right? You know, it's no secret. We get the spreadsheet, we look at every single customer, and, we work out the price increase, we measure the complaints, and at the end of the period, we know what we've done. And I've got clients that have done a lot, increases all the way through lockdown, and I've got clients that have done increases, all through the year. And like you, we have seen no discernible difference in complaint levels to previous times. And just to echo exactly what you've said, I'm working, one of my clients, on December the 1st, we did 540 increases.
Holy shit.
Right? We did an average of 14%. And
how much, sorry? 14?
14%
yep.
on average. And this client would normally increase yearly, to be fair to them, on April the 1st at around about 3 or 5%. We did 540. So we brought them forward, 4 or 5 months for implementation on January the 1st. And I spoke to them yesterday. So 19 days into January, we've had 1 complaint.
Wow. Do you know what, Dave? I love hearing things like this.
And, I tell the same story every podcast, every webinar, every time I meet somebody. But, like me, Dean, if you're going to do price increases, you've got to have a complaints handling procedure, and you've got to collect the data, and you've got to take away the fear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just revenue management. It's good business sense. And do you know what? Over Christmas, I don't think I've actually told you this, but me and Angela was having a conversation. Angela is the manager of my store, and somebody came in 6 months ago, or was it 9 months ago? Anyway, there was due a price increase, and they actually came in with a price match from Armadillo, which was 42% less than our current street rate. And Angela says, "What do we do, Dean? What do we do here?" And I actually thought, what would Dave say? And I thought, Angela's no point doing a 20% increase, because they're still going to complain at 20% as they are going to at 42%. So we banged through 42% and just brought it up to the street rate. Actually, I think it was just a little bit less, only very fractionally less than the street rate. And they did get in contact with us, and we explained the situation and told them why. And we said, look, you're still getting a better deal than street rate. And they accepted it. And it was a 42% increase. So
this one complaint that we've had at this client in the last week or so, we put through a 20% increase to bring the customer up to book rate, okay? She complained. The manager, having had the coaching and the complaint handling training, the manager said, we will give you a 5% discount. She said, no, I'm not happy. So we said, following the guidelines, we said, right, okay, we give you a 10%, so instead of 20%, it only increased by 10%. Yeah. She's gone away happy. Last year, they would have increased that customer 5%. So we've doubled the increase, right? So what you're telling me is nothing new, and it happens everywhere, and people just need to be brave, do the increases, plan and prepare for the complaints, and you will start to remove that fear.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dave, when a new customer comes to you, or a new client comes to you and says, look, I want you to help me look at my self-storage facility, what KPIs do you look at to see if you're underperforming? What are the quick wins that you normally look at? Obviously you don't want to tell us any of your secrets, but what are they?
I've got no secrets, right? I look at the basics, right? There is no secret in what I do, right? Obviously I've got the experience. Obviously I've done it. I've been there. So I'm very confident of of what the results are going to be. And in the last, well, 3 years now, blimey, God, 3 years, and having done it for, 100 clients or whatever, I know exactly what the results are going to be. So I'm very confident. And when people employ me, they employ my experience, but they employ my confidence, because I know exactly what's going to happen if they do, what I advise them to do. And so look, just like you did when I came to see you, I send you an agenda, and I get you to send me as much information as you can. I've obviously honed that now and got that down to quite a fine art. It just means that when I get to your store, when I get to you for the day, I'm not completely green. I've got an idea of where your pounds per square foot is, where your occupancy is, where your inquiry is. So I've obviously done mystery shops. And so when I get to you, I can start to dig down in the numbers, because the interesting thing is people say to me, if we employ you, Dave, well, what are you going to do for us? And I say, I've no idea, because until I come and understand your business and know what you do, what you're good at, maybe what you're not so good at, I don't know if I can help you or not. And I would have said that exactly to you. And different businesses need different help. But initially, people have to take the punt on investing in me and investing in my experience. But Dean, I've never been anywhere where I have not found something we can improve. And I believe I've never been anywhere where people have not been able to recruit what they pay me, recoup it.
Yeah, do you know what I say? It's like that we're inside the jar and you can't read the label inside the jar. I remember the first time that we spoke, and I said this story on the podcast before, and you said, just go for a ride up here. I'm like, where the bloody hell is he taking me? What is he doing? Just go around this roundabout. He said, what do you see? I'm like, nothing. He's like, go around again. And so there me and you are driving me around this sodding roundabout, looking at my self-storage. He's like, what do you see? I'm like, my self-storage. And then he says, can you imagine if you had a massive sign across there? And that little change, I think I said it to you before as well, has made all the difference in the world. And that little conversation, that 2 minutes, was worth the investment, because it is an investment, because I couldn't see it. I think I am good at running the self-storage facility, but you don't know what you don't know, and you can't see what you can't see. And I can't read the label inside the jar. I'm too busy looking at other stuff to realize it.
Yeah, look, and I remember going around that roundabout 3 or 4 times. You thought I was taking you to McDonald's, but I'm too tight to do that. And I remember saying to you, what do you see? And you said nothing. And I said, exactly. Right. And I think, if I'm out of memory, I think that sign cost you 1,700 quid, didn't it?
Yeah, it was nearly $2,000. Yeah.
So, but what an investment.
Oh, incredible investment, because it's evergreen. It's there, and it's getting me customers every single week. And like you said, it was right next door to an Aldi, and the people inside Aldi all the time are looking at that sign all the time. And we've got a sign where we can change the offer as well. It's sometimes 4 weeks half price, sometimes 8 weeks half price. And it really is good. So here's another question for you, David. It's a completely selfish question. So as you know, I'm looking to expand and get new builds and new self-storage facilities. Yeah. What do you look at when you're assessing different locations, if they're viable or not? What are the major attributes that you look for?
Well, again, it's not really changed in my 20 years in the industry. I think there's 3 things that I would, off the top of my head, look at. Location, visibility, position. So location means you simply get the best location you can. Now, Dean, you're not going to buy what SafeStore buy or Big Yellow buy, right? So you're not going to, the chances of you buying that great 60,000 square foot store on the roundabout, on the junction, it's not going to happen. My clients can't afford those sorts of sites, but there are still good locations out there. They might not be prime, but there are still many great locations. So it is all about location. Visibility, I believe, whether you're on, the main road, the best road in town, again, I don't think you can afford that. But if you're on a decent secondary road and you've got, visibility and road frontage, because, I'm a great believer, just like your sign, when a customer drives into your street, into your road, they need to be able to see you. Right? That's what they need to do. And, if you've got the best location you can afford, if you've got visibility in terms of roadside frontage, then critically, Dean, my third thing, position, it's unlikely that a competitor will be able to outposition you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect
what
sense.
You don't, if you think about, if you're down the back of an industrial estate, someone could open on the front of the industrial estate.
Yeah.
Right. If you're on the front of the industrial estate with main road frontage, sure, someone can open down the road, but they're not any advantage or disadvantage to you. Right. So I think it's crucial that you make sure, or you minimize the ability for one of your competitors to outposition you.
Yeah, that was one of my big questions for you when we started working together, was my position, because Stormore, I said, what position do you grade it? And you graded it a B, but you said, don't worry, because the A positions, they're not going to be able to get around here. So you can't get out positioned in your location. So you've got a very, very good, the best location you could possibly get. You couldn't get an A, and nor can anybody else, because no one's going to buy McDonald's and have that roundabout, have that location as a self-storage. And I can't wait for you to come down to Clough Road. This is the first time I've actually said the name of a street it's on, Clough Road in Hull, when hopefully you'll see it soon enough and have a look at it, because I do think it ticks all them boxes. Good. And it's just, I'm just super. Do you know what, Dave? I'm that excited about it. I'm that geeked up about it that I just can't sleep on night times. It's my first ever new build. It's not mine. But we're leasing it off somebody. He's building it specifically for me, and it's next door to a Starbucks. It's a beautiful location.
And look, do you know what I love about this industry is that, the fact that you can get excited about a location. And I remember back all those years ago when I used to come home and I'd be working all the hours and I'd get home late on a Friday night and I'd say to Trudy, I know, Trudy, why don't we take the kids and go for lunch in Bournemouth, say, for Sunday? And she'd say, oh, are we going to look at a site? All right. So yeah, it's great. When you find a great site, it is very exciting, no doubt.
It is. And last question from me, Dave. Yeah. We have a lot of new people to the industry listening to the podcast who are just wanting or interested in getting into the industry. Do you think now is a good time to wet your boots, so to speak, and get into the industry?
Whoa, yes, indeed. Right. look. In one word, yes. The industry is, we're miles from saturation, Dean, right? Yep. We're along, the market, there's still a huge market out there. I think that, the big boys continue to grow. The independents continue to grow. I get phone calls every single day about people buying new sites, people wanting to enter in the sites. I think that every day now, the big funds, the big investment funds like Legal and General, of course, are probably the biggest in the market. They've now got maybe 10, 12 stores under the SureStore brand. And there's loads of them out there sitting in the shadows at the moment. And I think that now that retail and has taken a bit of a dip, they've seen the resilience of this industry. They will be starting to invest, and I think we're going to see a massive growth in those funds. And I think the other thing is that an emerging trend is that self-storage will get more localized. So we'll see smaller stores in smaller towns. So MLA will drop, size of stores, I think you talked about your one being 17,000 square foot or something. we're going to see smaller towns. We're going to see it get more localized. And what that means for people wanting to get into the industry, although there are still high barriers and high costs to industry, obviously if you're opening smaller, then those costs become smaller. So I think that, you know, this is a great industry to get into. I think the returns are incredible. I think that as the world emerges from COVID and economies grow, then not only are we in a great position to deal with customers, we're in a great position for investors and people who want to open stores. So we're a long way from this not being a great business to invest in. So yeah, you know, I see lots of money coming into this industry.
Yeah, just before this podcast, I was actually on the phone to a guy called Jonathan, and he was looking to come in the industry, and he's really excited and wondered if it was the right time, etc. And I 100% echo what you've just said. My new site, cash on cash, on my projections now. I know it's just projections, but if we hit what we're doing already, what we know, I know we can do, it's 51% return cash on cash after year 3, which is absolutely incredible. And in terms of localized, you'll have seen me smiling on the Zoom because I've just been having a meeting. I know you love the mastermind meetings that I'm in all the time. And the guy who runs it, we was talking, there was 10 different business owners there, and we started talking down the route of localization and smaller sites. There's a number of towns that I won't publicly say on here that have got maybe 20,000 population and no self-storage. And that to me is an incredible opportunity to open a smaller site. You don't have to have these big 30,000 square foot, put a mezzanine on, make it 60,000. You can open a 10,000, a 5,000, a 15,000, and you let the numbers dictate to your behavior.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think the other thing being that, you know, I hear and I see now, you know, I've had probably 3 or 4 calls since the start of the year, is that with these small, you know, COVID has given automation a huge momentum, you know. And if you think back to March the 23rd last year, you know, 10% of this industry had the ability to sign a contract online, for instance. You know, by April the 1st last year, you know, 99.5% of the industry, you could sign a contract online. So, you know, that's a very small point, but automation, unmanned, staffless, whatever you want to call it, I think COVID has given this a huge, maybe 5 or 10 year leap. And I think that there are systems out there now. We do know that people will shop remotely, so to speak, for self-storage. And I think that makes the smaller stores viable, right? Yeah. So, you know, I think that we will see, you know, massive opportunities in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I'm well aware that I was a guy who argued against automation in 2019 in October, but times have changed. We've been accelerating that, and my argument was give customers the opportunity, give customers a choice of automation or not. But now I'm all in for automation. I'm absolutely.
I remember that SSA conference, Dean. The other bloke was much better than you.
He's better looking than me. I'll give you that.
Yeah, he was. That bloke. He was so smart. It was untrue, wasn't it? He looked out of place. But
he's such a nice guy as well. It makes it even worse.
But again, you know, you're right about this automation. You know, I've got a client. We've just launched a new website, and for the first time, we launched this website on December the 5th or something, Dean. And for the first time, we had the reservation online. You know, so you can book and pay and do everything online. And we launched this in December the 5th. And in the rest of December, you know, or was that 25 days or whatever, right, including Christmas, we had 7 online reservations, and 6 of them have actually moved in. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So in 3 weeks, we had 7 people. So you're right. It's about giving the customer the choice. If the customer wants to talk to you, let them talk to you. If the customer wants to email you, you can do it by email. If they want to bypass you, then give them the opportunity to do so. And whilst I'm not sure about automation, with a 40,000 or 60,000 store.
Yeah.
I think that with smaller, more local stores, it's definitely an option that people should consider now. It won't suit everybody, it won't suit every location, but it's definitely something that it is forefront of mind, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't have the conversation without mentioning Gavin Shields, because he was a person who really, really has changed. I've read all his articles, and then we spoke on the phone. He's been on this podcast, or he's coming on this podcast very, very soon as well.
Right.
And so he was talking to me, was talking for about 50 minutes, and all of a sudden it was like a light bulb moment. I'm thinking, do you know what? Yeah, I think these localized self-storage facilities are going to work. And Gavin's he's done it. He's got the facility. He knows it works. He's learned from that facility. And now with Storer coming out, the software, it's been a proven model. He's proven a model. And therefore moving forward, we can then use his software to implement it in our facilities.
Yeah, I've spoken to Gavin. I've sort of given him some help and advice on, perfecting his software and making it user friendly. I'll be interested in. I know he's got a couple of people using that now. If he's listening, he needs to talk to me and let me know where it's in operation, so that maybe I can have a much more thorough look at it and understand what it can do with people. Because, as I say, for an old dinosaur like me, even I think that, automation, manless, unstaffed, or whatever you want to call it, right? I think that there is definitely a momentum out there.
Yeah, and this is probably a perfect time to mention that Nokia are actually sponsoring the podcast. And so my manless facility, and no facility is ever going to be manless, but I'm going to document the journey. I'm going to document it with Gavin's software. Right. It'll be open on the 1st of August with Nokia technology in there as well. And yeah, they're going to, I don't know if we'll be sponsoring this actual episode or it's starting next Monday, but very, very soon Nokia will be sponsoring the podcast as well. So because I just really do believe in this automation, this technology, and I feel like there's a great opportunity there. And I'm going to document it as well so people can learn from my mistakes and see what I do wrong, because I will definitely 100% make a mistake. And then people can see exactly what I've done and how I've done it and what I've done right and what I've done wrong.
Well, look, that's good news. I think that's great for the industry, and I'll try and help make sure that we minimize those mistakes, eh?
That sounds good to me. Dave, if anybody wanted to get in contact with you, then where would they go? And I'll put a link in the show notes as well.
Yeah, consultdd@outlook.com. Do you want me to put my phone number in, or?
It's completely up to you, buddy.
Looks that's okay. 07714 428 730. Always happy to have a chat, and look forward to speaking to anybody who wants to speak to me.
Look at that. He even gives his mobile phone number out as well. How about that? Dave, thank you for your time, buddy. Really, really appreciate it. Always great to have you on the podcast. And hopefully we can do it again in the start of 2022.
My pleasure, my friend. Speak to you soon.